The second day of nationwide unrest following the Constitutional Council's proclamation of Paul Biya as winner of the October 12th presidential election. Violence and disruption spread across Cameroon. Multiple news services and regional outlets, they all report that clashes between protesters and security forces left civilians dead, many dead. Security forces fired on crowds and at least several protesters were killed in Douala and other cities during large demonstrations called by the opposition. Local authorities and opposition campaigns have offered different death tallies or tolls. However, independent verification is difficult in the immediate aftermath. But a consensus among major news agencies, including international agencies, is that lethal force was used in that there were fatalities, including in Garoua, where the mayor was shot dead by unrecognized men. Regime forces have detained scores of opposition activists and local organizers in multiple cities across the country. AP and Reuters documented arrests of opposition figures and dozens of protesters. Government officials have said some detainees will face military tribunal procedures for alleged insurrection or incitement. Human rights groups, they are already warning about arbitrary detentions too across the country. Reporting from AFP, Reuters and Al Jazeera describes protesters burning tires, barricading roads, and attacking police stations in Douala. Notably, the 2nd and 6th police districts were singled out in some of their reports. Reuters and Al Jazeera also report security forces being targeted with projectiles and that police vehicles in some public buildings were damaged in places where unrest was fiercest. Local social media footage and regional outlets show smoke and fires near central locations in Yaoundé and Douala shortly after the proclamation of the results yesterday. The protests have not been confined to one region. Major trouble spots named in reporting include Douala, which is known as the economic capital, Yaoundé, the political capital, Garoua, Marawa, and Ngaoundéré in the north, and Bafoussam in the west. That geographic spread, coast, central, and northern cities is underscored across wire reports and local eyewitnesses post. The European Union's Foreign Service, issued a statement yesterday taking note of the Constitutional Council's proclamation and expressing deep concern about the violent repression and the death by firearm of a number of civilians. The European Union called for accountability, transparency, and justice, and urged the release of those arbitrarily detained since the elections by the regime. That public diplomatic admonition came within 24 hours of the protests. Opposition leader Issa Chiroma, who publicly declared himself the people's choice prior to the Constitutional Council's decision, has not only rejected the official results, but has encouraged mass action, which is what people are saying all over the country at the moment. Chiroma's campaign described the current actions as the beginning of a concerted effort to make governance impossible for the Biya regime. That strategy includes targeted blockades of transport corridors and economic choke points. Reuters and regional reporting cite the campaign and its local organizers saying the movement aims to paralyze movement of goods and people between strategic cities, and we began seeing that today as the footage that we have will show you. Multiple local reports, campaign statements, and social media videos indicate that key routes northward, for example, the highway corridors linking Douala to Yaoundé to Ngaoundé and onward to Maroua have been blocked, all blocked by barricades and mass protests. Video footages show movement from Ngaoundé to Maroua is blocked, and a restriction between Douala to Yaoundé and Bafoussam is also in place. This matches social media reporting and eyewitness accounts. International outlets report roadblocks also and large-scale barricades that have severely disrupted intercity traffic as of now. These blockades are being described by opposition organizers as an economic lever to force political concessions or to overturn the results. Reports from Douala detail protester attacks on police posts, 2nd and 6th districts cited, with damage to police vehicles. In several videos circulating online, police compounds and patrol vehicles are shown under attack or burning. Journalists and wired services describe these attacks as part of the wider anger at security forces. There are also multiple local claims amplified on social media and some local outlets that a sports complex in Yaoundé, often referred to as the Palais de Sport, or other local sports facilities, were set on fire or attacked during clashes yesterday. At the time of writing this report, mainstream media have not published footage and accounts of smoke and fires near central Yaoundé locations, but stop short of a definitive catalogue of every building burn. Every building burn. For the sports complex claim, the strongest evidence remains local video and eyewitness reporting rather than a fully corroborated wired story. Regional social media posts and a handful of local websites report that bank branches and ATMs were vandalized, and some neighborhood commerce was looted or put out of business by fires and the collapse of normal activity. International outlets note economic disruption, closed markets, blocked roads, but specific nationwide tallies of bank branches damage are not yet available. The European Union publicly commented and called for accountability and intervention from Brussels, that is on the record. A number of Western chancelleries reportedly did not attend the proclamation ceremony yesterday. Again, a number of Western embassies in Yaoundé did not attend the proclamation ceremony of yesterday. Trade and diplomatic reporting, notably Africa Intelligence and regional press, indicated that several Western embassies and delegations, including the EU delegation, Canada, the UK, Switzerland, The USA, they all boycotted or did not send their heads of mission to the results proclamation yesterday. Mainstream wire services also noted a restrained diplomatic presence or the absence of a large foreign observer contingent at the former proclamation yesterday. The absence of a number of Western ambassadors at the proclamation has been seized on by the opposition forces as a diplomatic rebuke to the regime in Yaoundé and an implicit signal of international unease. Conversely, Yaoundé is likely to present a roster of friendly states and mission representatives who did attain as a claim of legitimacy. The diplomatic posture, public statements, boycotts of ceremonial events, and consular security alerts is already shaping the international narrative. Markets, schools, and offices are closed in many cities. The security situation and arrest have forced businesses and schools to close in trouble spots, and the government has issued security notices. The U.S. Embassy issued heightened availability statements for U.S. citizens and consular guidance. Cameroon is already coping with a difficult regional security environment and internal fractures. A sustained transport blockade and a breakdown in urban order will quickly have real economic costs. Perishable goods loss, revenue loss for trade hubs like Douala and investor flight. The opposition's stated aim is to make administration and governance functionally impossible, is precisely to explore these economic vulnerabilities. If blockades persist, the economic damage will compound rapidly. Civil society leaders and commentators in Cameroon are already asking publicly why regional bodies are not louder. This question is both political and also strategic. International observers and rights groups are already calling for independent investigations as if they will do anything or change the results at all. Many in Cameroon expect more from the AU, that is the African Union, and the Economic Community of West African States, given the scale of unrest and the credible allegations of lethal force going on in the country. If the situation continues to deteriorate, or if a military seizure of power were apparent, regional bodies have historically been quicker to react with statements and sanctions. The fact that they have not yet issued emergency measures other than the EU has become part of the political debate on the ground. As of this reporting, there has been no immediate AU or ECOWAS emergency condemnation equivalent to the EU statement. Cameroon has entered a dangerous phase. That is what it is. That is what it is at this time. On day 2, that is today, after the official proclamation of the results, the pattern is already clear. Mass demonstrations called by the opposition, heavy-handed disposal tactics by security forces with lethal consequences, targeted attacks on symbols of authority, and coordinated efforts by protesters to choke transport and trade to extract political concessions or reverse the election ruling. The EU's call for accountability and the reported partial absence of Western ambassadors at the proclamation have added a diplomatic dimension to what began as a domestic electoral dispute. Whether the unrest becomes a prolonged national crisis, an episodic bout of urban disorder, or the prelude to an even larger political rupture depends on immediate decisions by the government on use of force and detentions, by the opposition on tactics, and by regional and international actors on pressure and mediation.